I want to discuss the officer's actions with former police officer Dennis Root, who now trains officers in safe arrest tactics. And along with me, also HLN legal analyst Joey Jackson and CNN legal analyst Danny Savalos. Mr. Root, if I can ask you right off the bat, these officers, this has been investigated. These officers are back on the job. It's very hard to know the entire picture by seeing that one body cam perspective. But from what you've seen, did you see anything untowards on the part of the officers in this response?
You know, when we really take a look at the video, like you've already mentioned, it's a very small snapshot in time. There's multiple things to be considered. The first thing is the objective reasonableness of the use of deadly force, whether they perceived an actual threat to their lives or the lives of the other individual involved. Then you also have to consider the training and things that go into dealing with somebody who has emotional issues or mental health issues. So when you look at it, the officers have to be able to articulate their fear for their lives and the safety, maybe even of the young man's mother. But then we also have to remember our interactions and how they're going to feed into an event. When you're dealing with somebody that has mental health issues, the way you communicate and the things that you do can either escalate the situation or de-escalate the situation. And I see from a training perspective where we have a variety of things, whether it be the consideration of how the event began to unfold, the way that they were interacting with somebody that they knew from history within the community that he has mental health issues, all the way up to and including the rendering of aid. I mean, that was even something that, from watching the video.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I could not help but notice. Listen, that video goes on a lot longer than we just aired on CNN, and it looked like at no point, or certainly for several minutes, at least 6, I would say, at no point did any of the officers render aid. Is that part of protocol, or is that troubling?
For me, from my perspective, it's troubling because they were involved in what they perceived apparently as a deadly force encounter. They did have a gentleman armed with a screwdriver that could be used to inflict serious bodily injury or death. But once they had secured him, in other words, they had already fired their shots, they had removed the threat, they had taken the weapon away. Now they have an obligation to properly secure him, whether that be with handcuffs just because they felt in fear of him, but also to render aid. Once the force is over, once they've achieved the objective, now they have a responsibility to do something to try to help the individual that they were just involved in this conflict with. So I think that really when you look at the training aspects and things like that, we really have to take into consideration how much time is being allotted for officers to learn proper intervention techniques and as something as simple as first aid. Believe it or not, there's a lot of agencies that render minimal training in that specific topic area by itself.
Let me